Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden on a really beautiful late afternoon. And what I want to do in today's video with you is something that actually just popped in my mind because I thought this might be quite interesting and nice. I want to give you a little tour of the bearded iris that are in bloom in my garden right now. Not all of them are in bloom, but at least I would say a third of them. A lot of them are in containers. You might remember earlier on in this year, I showed you how to lift and divide bearded iris. And since I really didn't have a lot of room on where to put them in my garden, I decided to put some in the containers. They all look fantastic. So they're all alive. They all have really nice foliage, which is wonderful. None of them came to bloom this year. I already had a couple in containers last year and that they came to bloom. And well, stupidly enough, I forgot to label them, so still I don't know what I'm actually growing in those containers. So I need to see how I'm gonna deal with that situation. That is gonna be a different video though, and what I wanna show you as well, that is really intriguing. I wanna show you how to cross-pollinate or how to hand-pollinate bearded iris. I've never done it before. I know how it works though, and I think on bearded iris, it is very wonderful and easy to show you because well, the blooms are quite big, so you easily see how to do it and what to do. And if you have at least two different kind of bearded iris variety in your garden, it might be something really fun and intriguing for you as well, because if you do that, obviously you create a new kind of specimen that possibly the world has never seen before. And this is exactly what I want to do today. So I'm really excited about that. If you watch this video only to see how to hand pollinate bearded iris, then I just give you the time frame down here so you could just like fast forward to that time. And for all the rest of you, if you also want to see an entire tour of those iris that are in bloom in my garden now, then I hope you're going to enjoy this entire video today. I want to start in the front garden with you and just work my way through from the front towards the back of the garden. And in the front garden, I thought I'd grow only two variety of iris, and as it happened this year, there is another one in here where I was a little surprised. So when I planted one clump, apparently I was mixing things up a little bit, and now there was a little surprise. It is a wonderful one, but the thing is, I don't know what variety it is, because when I ordered the bearded iris, I kind of ordered a little bit in bulk because I couldn't make a decision. So I placed two big orders in 2 different years, I suppose. Both time kind of like, I don't know, 20 rhizomes roughly. And then because I ordered quite a lot, the online shops made the decision to give me something as a gift, but I haven't written down what the gift actually was. I just remember that they did so. So what you're going to see now is the gift. I have no idea about the variety name. If you recognize it, be very happy if you can just comment down below the video. What I think I'm going to do though is I'll take a photo and just send an email to the online shop, because I already browsed their homepage, but I can't find it on there anymore. So maybe they just don't have it in stock. In general, in the front garden, I focus on color combinations of blue and sulfur yellow, which you're going to see in a moment. But first, I want to show you what kind of bearded iris you see here in the front garden. So on the left, there is a wisteria, still in bloom, a little bit overgrown, definitely needs some love and attention. And the urn that I planted up with you, really wonderful, still loving it. And in front of it, you see a bearded iris that I never thought I planted there. And actually, I never bought that one, so that was definitely a free gift. To the left, you see a lot of leaves. So this is where I have the variety called Acoma. I have a photo of it, which I'm going to just put next to here, so you see the color differences as well. The thing is, here in the front garden, you really can tell the color scheme that I have going on. I really focus on tones of sulfur yellow, so the euphorbia is definitely one of those accents. And then I have all shades of purple. So at this time of the year, the Nepeta really is the most beautiful perennial for purple. Later on, asters, thalictrum. Also focus a little bit on tones of white just to brighten everything up. And in the back, you see already clumps of another bearded iris. There's a variety called English Cottage. Come in with my fingers, you got to see there's a clump, there's a clump. Also around the corner, there is another clump of the same variety. It is one of those focal plants that I use in the garden. So you'll find it here in the front garden and it carries on into the midsection of the garden. I love to do that also with a Nepeta and with some sedum variety. So if you find your way from the front towards the back of the garden, there's always something that kind of like carries on. The thing with this bearded iris is that it is so wrong here that I almost feel it is right, because Acoma was beautiful and everything was very color coordinated, but sometimes when something is totally wrong, surprisingly it looks wonderful. And what I love as well is we're now standing in an area where the front garden kind of like goes into the midsection of the garden, just where Alfie is standing now. And in the midsection of the garden, I have tones of like berry and pink tones, blush tones. So somehow it is a little bit of an appetizer to be like, okay, this is what you can expect if you continue walking into the midsection of the garden. And this is what we're going to do now. Hosta Patriot looks fantastic already. All the leaves are up. No slug and snail damage, never. I really think it has to do with the variety. I already told you that I grow the variety called English Cottage, Irish English Cottage in big clumps in the garden. So there is a clump here. There is another clump if we just continue walking just behind the rose here. It doesn't get too much sun, but still it flowers. Then I have a clump just there next to the driveway. And then big clumps also here in the island bag and in the new herbaceous border. So there is one just behind the dwarf lilac that actually is in a wonderful blush tone. So you get to see it there, and I think it just works really wonderful with the white furniture, with the wood and the white trellis and the backdrop as well, obviously. And the biggest and nicest clump of that English Cottage variety is always here. It is one that flowers quite early, so we are at the point where it almost is over. So just the last blooms are open. So perfect timing to do the tour with you here. I love it because it has a very delicate and elegant color, I think. It's almost white with hints of purple or like lilac. Very delicate. The beard is very light yellow. And what intrigues me as well is it comes with a scent, especially in the evening hours. It releases a wonderful perfume, so it is really nice to have it also next to the terrace, obviously. And the last thing that is so wonderful about it is that it is a rebloomer. Not a lot of iris do that, this one does. So obviously at this time of the year, it really has the biggest impact, but then in September, more October, even November sometimes, you will see blooms again. Like not a lot, but a couple at least, which is always surprising and just a wonderful thing to see. And especially like I remember 2-3 years ago, the last blooms appeared like in December, I think, and then they were hit by frost. It was just a really intriguing sight, something that I absolutely loved. I divided these last year and put some more over here. So English Cottage is one of those bearded iris that I can divide almost every single year. In general, bearded iris love this area here because we have sandy soil, kind of poor soil, and this is exactly what they love and this is exactly where they thrive best. I'm on the driveway with you now, and if you remember, there is a little pot garden that I did earlier on in the year with you, and it still looks fantastic. All the pansies are so cute. I'm so glad that I put the white petunias in there because they really brighten up this entire staging. And now the miscanthus grasses really start kicking in, so they frame in the entire scenario. I love it. But I also love this here. I also love that Alfie is just like trying to hide in the rose rugosa, but look at these beautiful bearded iris. Honestly, for years, I was convinced that this is a variety called Baltic Sea. And I just checked, I never bought Baltic Sea in the end. I don't know why. This is Dusky Challenger. However it is called, it is beautiful, especially at this time of the day. There's a little bit of afternoon sun in the back, and I think you get to see the beautiful color that it has. It is kind of like uniform color, but then it has all different nuances in just one bloom. So all the petals are in a very dark violet or purple tone. Even the beard is in that color. And I think just the fact that the single blooms are so big and really frilly makes them extremely special. They are quite tall and they produce a lot of blooms per stem. So especially now they are in their best, I would say. Like in a week or two, they start fizzling out, but now they are absolutely fantastic. And what I love as well is just a little plant neighbor here. A couple of years ago, I had a lot of offspring of Jacob's ladder, and I didn't really know where to put them. So I thought, okay, I just put them here. And that was a lucky shot because I think these colors work extremely well together. There's like contrast of the tiny blooms and the delicate violet of the Jacob's leather with these big impact of the bearded iris and the dark color of the bearded iris. I think it works just fantastic. For the last part of the video, I want to take you with me onto the slope. So this is the rear end of the garden where it opens up into the landscape. So we have this wonderful view onto the farmland, and this is west facing. So you really have a beautiful sky with the sun there. I hope it's going to stay a little overcast now for a second because it's always better to show you the colors. when it's overcast, because otherwise sometimes the sun makes them look a little strange. Unfortunately, the first two iris I'm going to show you, again, I don't know what variety they are. The first one is a little bit surprising that I don't know, because I thought I ordered it, but I haven't. And so I predict that that was, again, another gift from an online shop. It isn't necessarily a color that I would choose, to be honest, because it has buttercup yellow in it. Still, I just kind of like it in a way. It's not that I dislike it. There is enough purple and lilac in there that I'm like, it is nice. Very vigorous, like a lot and lot of leaves, not so many flower spikes, which is a little bit sad. But yeah, I can't tell you what variety it is, unfortunately. If you swing around, you get to see the beautiful fence at the back of a garden, but then you get to see kind of like a miniature garden. I showed you this already in a previous video, but I just can't get enough of it because it's so beautiful, especially at this time of the year. Rose rugosa Therese Bonnier comes to bloom now, really wonderful. It is a double flower, but I just saw that even though it is a double, the pollen is still exposed, which is something that I always really love to see. And then also in combination, just down here, look at that. The petunias with the rose is beautiful. And then these iris here. I absolutely love them. They were a gift from a friend of mine. So she had them on her balcony in Dusseldorf. And after they were done flowering, she was like, well, what to do with them? And I was like, I'll take them. So I suppose 3 years ago, she gave me one flimsy rhizome. And out of that one rhizome, I grew this. I kept on dividing those iris and they are so happy. I think they just brighten up this area. So I always love to have some white blooms in the garden. And what I think works so extremely well, especially here, is if you take a closer look at these blooms, again, they have a dark purple marking. And I think this is really well color coordinated with the Aquilegia here because it is almost the same color. And then in the back there, look what you see. These towering, big, tall, dark, really sinister iris. This is Superstition, so I know what variety it is. Again, it is one that definitely has a big impact, and I planted it here on the back of a slope because if I swing around, I first want to give you a closer look at the single blooms. So they are very dark, but there is also a little bit of orange and yellow in there. Especially if I come in and open it up into the center, you see the beard starts to be a little bit yellow. So it really has a very fascinating color. Obviously great impact. Always watch out with your clothing with this one because it is gonna stain because it is so dark. So if you take off any spent blooms, make sure you wear your garden gloves. But what I want to show you, and now it is good that the sun comes out, look at that. When the sun comes from the back, they seem to glow. They have a complete different color. They're almost like gooseberries or blackberries, something like that. I think that they are so fantastic and I really love what they add to this entire miniature garden scenario here. The last bearded iris that I want to show you is called Nellie Tardivier. I hope I say it right, but I think again it is just really beautiful in combination with all these whimsical Aquilegias here. And what I really love about this one is that from the distance it is hard to define the color because again it kind of is dusted in a way, so I absolutely love it obviously. It is kind of like purple-ish, but at the same time there is something like burnt caramel, burnt orangey going on. And I think it is just a wonderful ensemble of colors. So the outer petals, they have the berry tone in the inside. The beard is yellow, so they fade outwards to like a burnt caramel tone. The upper petals are in this really wonderful grayish lilac tone. And then again, if you look into the center, a beautiful color combination. So it kind of starts to be yellow and then also a little bit more berry here again. So honestly, surprisingly, this is one of my favorite bearded iris, and again, very vigorous, and I have 4 very strong, very long, beautiful flower spikes. So I'm so happy about it. And guess what? Now I'm going to show you how to pollinate, and I will show you on this variety here. I will pollinate, cross-pollinate English Cottage with this variety because I think that that might be a really intriguing outcome. So let's see. Before we're going to pollinate, I just quickly want to give you some details about the anatomy of a bearded iris bloom. So you can see, obviously, it is built of different kind of petals. So you have 3 petals that are facing downwards here with the beard in the center. The beard quite often is in a zingy color to attract pollinators. into the bloom, and the downward facing petals are kind of like a landing strip for pollinators. Then you have the 3 upward facing petals, quite often very frilly, also in really different kind of colors, again to attract pollinators into the bloom. And if we just open them, then you see basically where pollination takes place in a bearded iris. So if I just hold them aside, try not to break anything. Here you see this long white anther. This is where the pollen sits. So the pollen is facing downwards. On the top part here, there is no pollen. And then you have just above the anther, the so-called stigmatic lip. It's very nice to show it here on this kind of variety because it is in different colors. So the lip has a down-facing part, which is purple here, and then an upwards-facing part, which is yellow. And in between, there is a little gap, and this is where the pollen needs to be rubbed into. I've already done it earlier on in the morning, and I will just repeat the process to make sure that pollination definitely takes place. So what I'm going to do now is take you with me to a bearded iris English cottage and show you how to take the anther. So we are again at the variety called English Cottage, and all I need to take the anther is a pair of tweezers. That is all you need. And what I do is, very gently, I just lift this top lip here, and then I come in with my tweezers and just nip the anther off. This is all there is, and I think you get to see quite well the pollen on it. So on one side there is no pollen, that is the one that was facing upwards, so the pollen sits on the down facing side. And what I will do is I will take 3 of these, because as you can see in the center there are 3 stigmatic lips, and you want to make sure that you pollinate all 3 of them. I lost the anther already, so I'm just going to take 3 others now. All right, for the pollinating part, I hold the anther in my hands because I have rather small fingers and it is a lot easier for me to maneuver. So all I do is now come in here and just put the side with the pollen into the stigmatic lip and really rub it onto here. Make sure that it's kind of like everywhere in there as much as possible, all the way around. Hope you get to see a little bit with the focus here. So it should really sit in between these 2 parts. And this is what I'm going to do with all 3 stigmatic lips now. Just to be sure that you really see it. So the stigmatic lip consists of these 2 parts. And what I did is I put the pollen just in there. So I think you get to see all the white powder that sits in there now. So I'm going to do this now today and tomorrow again, just to make sure that I will have pollination with these gorgeous iris. Oh, look at them now. Now there's no sun on them, so you really get to see the color. Isn't that just beautiful? I hope that this little tour of the bearded iris in my garden, plus how to hand pollinate bearded iris, was interesting for you. Please keep your fingers crossed for me that this is going to work. I'm so excited about that. The reason, by the way, on why I choose to take English Cottage is that English Cottage is a rebloomer, and I'm hoping that the offspring, if I get any offspring, will be a rebloomer as well. Obviously, I'm going to keep you posted about this entire situation. So I predict 2-3 weeks from now, I should see that the seed pod should swell up. So when that happens, then exactly you know, okay, pollination was successful. And then I predict in roughly 2 months from now, so maybe even end of July, definitely at one point in August, I'm going to have nice big fat brown seed heads that are kind of like rattling inside. And once they kind of crack open on the top, you know that your seed is ready to be collected. I'm so going to do a video out of that, obviously. It will be just a quick one, but nevertheless, I think this will be super intriguing. 2 more things is, if you do kind of cross-pollination, obviously you should do some sort of record of what you did. You can just write it down in a diary, or with bearded iris, super easy. What you can do is, if you just have a black waterproof marker, you can just write the 2 varieties that you cross-pollinated on one of the bearded iris leaves. Is going to stay there. Even if the leaf is going to dry off, you're still able to read it and see it. So there is a quite good way on how to do it. And the last thing I do is, just to remind myself to not nip off any of the flowers once they are spent, is I'm going to come now with some embroidery thread, or maybe some colored wool, whatever I have that has a color. Just quickly wrap it around one of those flowers just at the base, very loose, just to make sure that I know, okay, I've pollinated something there, and I'm hoping for seeds to develop. So that was it for today's video. That was quite a spontaneous idea of mine. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. I love bearded iris. I hope you do as well, and I hope you also have some of them in your own garden. And obviously, I would love to welcome you in my garden very soon again. Take care, guys. Bye.